Celebrating the baby boomer lifestyle. This is Boomer Life with Sterling Fox on AM 650.
Nice to have you with us. An important edition of Boomer Life today with our guest doctors Larry and Alex Chan from Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center in Vancouver. The subject of the conversation this hour has been cancer. Not the flashiest and sexiest program we've ever done, but a very important one. And we're now at the point, Larry, where we want to talk a little bit about some of the therapies, some of the remedies, the most popular and best known of which is chemotherapy. What, Doc, is chemotherapy and what does it do?
Well, allopathically, there's three main treatments. There's surgical removal of cancer.
Yep.
Radiation therapies, they can use it for prevention of regrowth or shrinkage of tumors. And chemotherapy is the one that's broadest base.
Yeah.
Usually chemotherapy is given when a person has hit that stage 3, stage 4 stage where cancer spread, and then they want to go through the bloodstream and the system to kill the cancer cells.
Okay.
And the positive effect is that it can go through the whole body and attack cancer cells that are migrated into other areas or metastasized.
Right.
Such as lung cancer now spread to the other parts of the body or to the bones or the liver. The chemotherapy can get to those areas. The problem with chemotherapy at that point then is that it also damages your good cells.
Right.
And so sometimes it's a necessary evil at a certain point. You have to use chemotherapy. But for us at Integrative, we really want to make sure that the person and the individual is left at a good place, that their cells are left intact and healthy as can be. Because if you start damaging with a scorched earth policy with the chemotherapy, the individual starts losing their own immune system and their own vitality.
Because it really is putting poisons into the bloodstream, some of which are more and less targeted to actually get the cancer cells.
Right.
But a lot of the older chemotherapies and a lot of the chemotherapies that are still used in certain cancers that aren't very well differentiated. Basically, the cancer cells, they don't have a lot of good ways of targeting them.
Okay.
You kind of have to use this widespread poison that you infuse to the bloodstream, and it goes throughout the whole body, killing everything that it comes into contact with, which is why people end up with such terrible side effects.
Well, sure, the hair loss and all sorts of inability to eat, and it's really harsh on some people, Larry. It's people have great difficulties with it. And I'm sure you experience people coming to you going, I'm in this program now, but help me because it's just tearing me up.
Part of the process of Integrative is that we want to help the person, number one, mitigate some of those side effects. Make them feel better, have them have fewer side effects so they can actually function, have more energy again, they can go forward. The other danger of chemotherapy is that it beats their good cells down so much, or their white blood cells down so much, that they start losing their immune system itself.
So you start hearing about people being like, I'm supposed to be doing another round of chemotherapy next week, but they just took my blood and I don't have enough red blood cells, white blood cells to be able to go through it.
Okay.
Part of our therapies are about supporting them so that it has less effect on those blood cells, so they're actually able to tolerate the chemotherapy regime that their oncologist wants. And I think that that's one of the things that really sets our clinic apart, is that we're very happy to work hand in hand with the oncologist, like where they're the expert on that particular cancer, obviously, but that we're really trying to support the person throughout to be able to tolerate their chemotherapy or radiation regime.
And I'm curious about that. We've only got a couple of seconds left, but the Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center interacting with the Western medical community and the oncological community. How are they receiving you? What's the cooperation level? Is there, generally speaking, an enthusiasm for the greater big picture approach, or are some old school guys still a little resistant?
I think the official response is still resistance. There are individual oncologists and doctors out there that are very receptive to it as well.
I think so.
But I think overall it's still pretty resistant to that.
Interesting.
I think it's because a lot of the therapies, it's easier for them to say, well, we don't know about that, so we'll say no to everything.
Right.
Than it is to because it's not their area of expertise. But I mean, it's sad then that if it ends up being a blanket no instead of no but or yes and, right? Because that's what we're always going for, is what can be the most helpful for this person.
Right.
And there are, I feel, some oncologists that are very open, especially with later stage diagnosis, because their outcomes are so poor with less than 3% in many cases for stage 4 across the board.
Doesn't matter which type.
Doesn't matter what type.
Right.
And so a lot of docs in that case, I've run across a lot of oncologists that are like, anything you can do at this point, because we've kind of run out of options in a lot of cases. And so at that point, it's a lot of focusing on quality of life.
Right.
So.
I had a child that was about 6 years old, came in with a nasopharyngeal cancer right in his behind the eye. Really, he lost his eye.
Right.
And they were giving him chemotherapy to bring the tumor down and shrink his tumor down. They couldn't use radiation. They couldn't do chemotherapy after a while because his cells were so low.
Sure.
And he was not surviving.
It's a 6-year-old.
Yeah,
right?
totally devitalized.
Right.
The parents brought him in. We gave him lots of nutrients to support him. Went back for more chemotherapy. Now he's back. I saw him 10 years later as a teenager. Nice to see. That
Great.
can happen.
Oh, it can happen.
Yeah.
Well, there you go, friends. There is hope, and cancer isn't. It's a scary situation and a scary diagnosis, but it's not the end of the world. And our friends at Integrative Naturopathic Medical Center at 1285 West Broadway are there to help, and they're darn good at what they do. Dr. Larry Chan, Dr. Alex Chan, thanks for coming in. Appreciate this hour. Very important stuff.
It's a pleasure. Thank you.
See you
Thank
next
you.
time on Boomer Life here on AM 650.